Today on Ian vs. Daddybones, we're talking about one of the greatest Masters of the Universe characters of all time, Man-E-Faces.
Oh boy, kids, we're gonna have fun today!
Yay! Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Hey! Alright!
Epic roast.
Welcome back! It's another exciting episode of Ian vs. Daddybones. I am Ian Daddybones. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about a legendary classic Masters of the Universe character. One of my all-time favorites. He may be one of your favorites. None other than Man-E-Faces. But before we get to that, I want to say what's up to all the YouTube subscribers. I want to give a special high five and a knuck tap to all the Patreon subscribers, throwing me $1 to $5 a month. If you throw me $1, you get access to bonus content for Ian vs. Daddybones, and you get your name in the credits as a high five and a thank you for your support. If you throw me $5 a month, you also get access to the Original Geeks podcast. There's a new episode that's going to be up shortly where I flip through an old-ass issue of WCW magazine from back in the 90s with Diamond Dallas Page on the cover. We're going to flip through that, so make sure you check that out. But today on the show, thanks to none other than my Patreon subscriber, Outbreak Monkey, we're going to be talking about Man-E-Faces. Outbreak Monkey picked Man-E-Faces, and I couldn't agree more for a character to talk about this week on the show because he's a lot of people's favorite Masters of the Universe character. He's classic, and I mean, he's been referenced in pop culture. Like, I remember when Family Guy was new, you know, Stewie had a fucking Man-E-Faces character in his room and whatnot and shit, and I remember popping like a motherfucker when I saw Man-E-Faces being referenced on Family Guy and shit. But yeah, today on the show we're going to be talking about Man-E-Faces. Now, Man-E-Faces is one of the original Masters of the Universe characters that was introduced in the vintage line. I mean, you had your basic core characters like He-Man, Skeletor, Man-at-Arms, you know what I mean, Beastman and fucking Teela and Merman. But like when it came to like other secondary first round characters, you know what I mean, like Trapjaw and Triclops, Man-E-Faces and Ram-Man were added to that mix. So he's like you know, I would say he would be like Vintage Wave 2 back in the day, even though, you know, it's probably confirmed to be that. But either way, looking back on it, like I said, Man-E-Faces has been around since the 80s. Me personally, I never had Man-E-Faces as a kid. No matter what, I never saw Man-E-Faces in stores. And anytime my parents went looking for Masters of the Universe characters, for some reason Man-E-Faces always eluded my parents in the wild, and even some other kids that I used to play with that had Masters of the Universe figures, some of those kids never found Man-E-Faces, but eventually we all knew somebody who had a Man-E-Faces, and you know, we were always super, you know, you'd be super jealous because it's one character that you really want and you can't find it, so you're not getting it for your birthday or Christmas and whatnot. But you see the character present, you know, present in like mini comics and other media pertaining to Masters of the Universe. You know, when the Filmation cartoon came out, fucking Man-E-Faces he made appearances in that, and overall, he's just a sick character because, you know, with the whole thing with Man-E-Faces, it was his action feature, the fact that you were able to turn this knob on his head, and he had 3 different faces. It was always fucking just super appealing. It was like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Because none of your other action figures could fucking do that. And if you didn't have Man-E-Faces, you wanted Man-E-Faces just because he could fucking spin his face around and have 3 different faces, you know? Fucking love it. But the whole thing with Man-E-Faces is, you know, a lot of the Masters of the Universe characters came with mini-comics and shit, so they all had backstories, so I'm trying to get them to stand up and not fall over. But what I do have that that I'm going to discuss is I do have the mini comic that came with the original vintage Man-E-Faces, and now I'm gonna flip through this real quick because, you know, back in the day, this was the only information that we had when it came to who this character is. So, you know, it was he first appeared in a mini comic called The Ordeal of Man-E-Faces, and basically the mini comic it shows He-Man, Teela, Man-at-Arms, and they're like, you know, in the center square of, like, you know, Eternia. They're not in the royal palace. They're like in the market area, and there's a crowd of people, and they're watching an actor on a stage giving a performance, and from a distance, Skeletor is watching everything that's going down, right? So everybody's watching the actor's performance, and afterwards he gives a bow, and it says, "Thank you, good Eternians. It has given me great pleasure to entertain you. Please feel free to make your contributions of coin or jewel." And you know, so everybody's all entertained by him, and they're all throwing their coins and shit and rewarding him because Man-E-Faces, he's an actor. You know, the whole purpose of him turning his face and having different appearances is so he could perform different roles because he's an actor. And so basically he goes back in his trailer, you know, his wagon, and fucking Skeletor is there, and Skeletor basically holds his power sword against his throat and shit, and he has a potion in a bottle, and he basically tells Man-E-Faces to drink this shit or I'm gonna kill you. And Man-E-Faces drinks the bottle of potion, whatever the fuck it is, and then he starts having a reaction to it, and that's what turns Man-E-Faces into the monster face. You know what I mean? So he gets his monster face because he gets not poisoned, but he gets drugged by Skeletor. So basically, Man-E-Faces goes about his day, and now it says several nights later, the ruler of Eternia holds a great feast in honor of Eternia's greatest heroes. So it basically shows He-Man sitting at a table with the king and queen, because mind you, in this mini comic, this is still in Masters of the Universe's like early stages of just hitting retail, and they're just introducing this toy line, this brand to children of the 80s like myself, and they're still fleshing out the background and the storyline. So this mini comic in itself is like evidence that they still haven't fleshed out the backstory as far as the king and queen. Like in this mini comic, like first of all, it says the ruler of Eternia holds a great feast. It doesn't say the king and queen. It doesn't say King Randor, Queen Marlena. You know what I mean? They haven't gotten that far. It shows He-Man sitting at the table with Teela, and they're watching Man-E-Faces give a performance, but He-Man's He-Man, he's not in his Prince Adam form because I don't believe they just got there yet. You know what I mean? So, and plus Man-at-Arms is there. So basically Skeletor shows up to ruin shit, and when He-Man and Man-at-Arms and Teela go to attack Skeletor basically activates Man-E-Faces and flips his face into the monster mode, and then Man-E-Faces attacks He-Man and Skeletor. So yeah, Man-E-Faces is fully under Skeletor's control, and He-Man's distracted with Skeletor, and Man-at-Arms is trying to stop Man-E-Faces, who is trying to kidnap Teela. And then once Man-E-Faces grabs her, Skeletor uses his magic and is like, "Fuck y'all," and they're out. And also too, another thing, the next page it says, "Far away the sorceress is beseeched by a message from He-Man." And she says, "Falcon, what word do you bring?" And the Falcon says, He-Man summons you. The warrior woman Teela has been captured by the evil Skeletor. And then she goes, this is hard news. Of course it will help. And then she disappears. And then she appears in front of Castle Grayskull. Or no, she appears in the throne room of the Eternian Palace. And she contacts He-Man. But the thing is, the thing to take away from this is still, like I said, at a point where they're still fleshing out the earliest details to create a storyline and a setting, you know what I mean, for everything going down right now. Because a lot of these characters started off as one thing, and they're slowly evolving into what would be their permanent roles within this universe and brand. Like, for example, Teela's action figure always came as Teela wearing this Cobra armor, right? But their plan was to have Teela, the character, the figure, actually be two characters at once. Because when Teela wasn't wearing the Cobra armor, it was the warrior goddess, right? Or the warrior. But then when she wore the Cobra armor, she was the goddess. So they were trying to get two characters in one, because there's earlier representations of Teela wearing the Cobra armor, but she's green, the green goddess. So the whole thing was a clusterfuck, basically, until they separated them into two permanent characters, where Teela was Teela, and she had long blonde hair, but then eventually that turned into Teela with red hair, and then you had the goddess, who was green, and then sometimes she's portrayed as Caucasian skin, like Teela. Eventually that got turned into the sorceress, and even in instances in this, like this Man-E-Faces mini comic, where she's wearing the Cobra armor, but she's being referred to as the sorceress, while still looking like the original green goddess, until she received her permanent sorceress look, which was the orange, blue, and the white. You know, that was from the Filmation cartoon. And even the fact that she's receiving word from a Falcon, you know what I mean? Which hasn't even became Zor yet. Zor being the form that the Falcon form that the sorceress takes and whatnot. So when it comes to the toy line and you got Zor, the orange, blue, and white bird, you know what I mean? They haven't even made it that far. So that's something to take note. But basically, fucking He-Man and Teela show up to confront Skeletor, or no, He-Man and the Goddess show up, Sorceress, show up to confront He-Man, Man-E-Faces, and rescue Teela. And then Skeletor summons a demon that he's going to sacrifice Teela to, apparently. And then He-Man and the Sorceress, well, the Sorceress uses magic on Man-E-Faces, which basically transforms him back into his, you know, normal human face. And then He-Man fights the demon. They save Teela, and for the moment, and then basically, fucking the Goddess and Skeletor start fighting their magic. They both blast their magic into fucking Man-E-Faces, like Dumbledore and fucking Voldemort trying to control Harry Potter. You know what I mean? They're trying to separate, and the Skeletor's trying to make him the monster. She's trying to make him human, and basically it caused Man-E-Faces a lot of pain, according to these comic book panels. He's all like, "Stop! The pain must stop!" And then all of a sudden, the Goddess is like, there's too much energy and shit. And Skeletor's like, the mortal explodes. And apparently Man-E-Faces fucking exploded. But then Skeletor disappears, and obviously Man-E-Faces is there, but then now he's the robot, which explains why he didn't disappear. And so basically the Goddess, with her magic, basically reprograms Man-E-Faces, so he's able to change on his own between his three different forms. But the final panel of this comic has the Goddess, the Sorceress, thinking to herself, I wish that there were so, for the monster and the robot are now parts of Man-E-Faces forever, and it's only a matter of time before Skeletor tries to use those cells again. So basically she's saying we fixed him for now, but it's only a matter of time before Skeletor is able to control him again. And, that was his mini comic back in the day that came with Man-E-Faces. And, like I said, I never had the character as a kid, but the one thing to take note from Man-E-Faces is, one thing I like about modern Masters of the Universe, especially with like Mattel having the WWE license, is that when it comes to Masters of the Universe Origins, they're compatible and share parts with the WWE Superstars line that's available at Walmart, because they're also 5.5-inch figures. You know what I mean? They're the same heights as these. And like the Man-E-Faces Masterverse figure that I'm going to be opening up in a moment, Man-E-Faces, with the Masterverse figures, they're right on scale with the WWE Elite and the WWE Ultimate Edition figures, with also using some shared similar parts depending on the figure and the wrestler. You know what I mean? Whether they're just sharing a forearm or a bicep or a thigh, you know what I mean? And or even just a basic bare ass torso with fucking man titties and a neck peg. But the one thing is, even back in the day, when it's not just cross compatibility, but sometimes play features from one toy line may cross over and carry on in another toy line. And when it comes to Man-E-Faces, like Man-E-Faces' overall action feature of being able to spin his head, and have the 3 different faces, it also comes from an action feature that was part of the Big Jim line back in the 70s. Like, Big Jim was a toy line that Mattel had where they were like 10-inch action figures, and they were sold to compete, with like G.I. Joe, even though the G.I. Joe figures at that time were like 12-inch figures. Mattel had 10-inch figures that basically had similar, action features like karate chop action and I think even kung fu grip and whatnot. But like, fucking basically some of the characters had action features in the Big Jim line that would cross over into Masters of the Universe. Like the character The Whip had a whip that would come with Beastman. You know what I mean? Like Beastman's whip was the exact same whip that came with the whip. There were 2 characters in the Big Jim line that had the Man-E-Faces action feature play gimmick, and one of the character was called Zorak, completely unrelated to like Space Ghost and all of that. Zorak was a Big Jim villain who was able to change the look of his faces by spinning the knob on the top of the head, and the drum on the inside of the mechanism would turn. And so Zorak had that action feature, and at some point the Big Jim line would put out a wave of like pirate themed characters, and these pirate themed characters had a character named Captain Drake, which also had the same gimmick, only he went from a human face, like a pirate face, to a skull face, which a lot of people will assume and have said that the Captain Drake skull face on the Mattel end of things, somebody saw that and compared to the rough concept art for like the character Demo Man, all of those elements would eventually carry over into Skeletor. Basically the fact that I guess Captain Drake had a purple like cloak, you know what I mean, with the skull face to like hide the inside spinning drum mechanism. So like the purple hood with the skull face, is one of the inspirational elements that apparently created Skeletor. But those 2 characters within the Big Jim line have used this action feature before. And like I said, this is the Man-E-Faces character that Well, this particular Man-E-Faces character is from the Masters of the Universe Origins line. This character is part of Wave 2 that came out in 2020, right when the pandemic started, and it kind of fucking sucks because not a lot of people were able to find Man-E-Faces, and a lot of people still haven't found Man-E-Faces in the United States. I was lucky enough to find him on Amazon, and I was able to have him shipped to my house. But come to find out that with the way Mattel has their distribution as far as the international market and like the American market, I guess it goes to like England and Australia and over there first, and then we get it a couple of months later. It's like on a 2 or 3 month delay. I don't know exactly what it is, but basically when Wave 2 of Masters of the Universe Origins was supposed to ship was when COVID and the whole fucking pandemic started. So, long story short, when everything got shut down and people were quarantined and whatnot, depending on where you were living, that delayed a lot of shipments, and some of those shipments never made it to the States. So, because of COVID, because of pandemic, Waves 2 and 3 of Masters of the Universe Origins totally got fucked when it came to the United States distribution. And, so a lot of people have been having to pay high prices on the internet. Some people have been trying to jump through all sorts of hoops, even risk getting scammed by other sellers saying they have Man-E-Faces mint on card. So, he's definitely a sought-after character to some collectors, but last fall, when Masters of the Universe was going through its 40th anniversary in like September and October, when like waves 10 and when like waves 9 and 10 of Masters of the Universe Origins was hitting the stores, basically everything that was available in Target and Walmart and other stores, anything that had the silver 40th anniversary logo up in the corner, that was all the stuff that came out last fall. They re-released some of the Wave 2, some of the Wave 3 characters. I believe Target even had its own end cap that had like the cardboard display where they had the characters, and some people were able to get Man-E-Faces amongst other characters through that second release wave drop that they wound up doing. So I'm not sure exactly how sought after Man-E-Faces is as of right now, but I do know that Mattel does have a variant of Man-E-Faces, a second version of Man-E-Faces that's coming out, because Man-E-Faces original back in the day cross-sale art on the back of the old vintage packaging, Man-E-Faces colors on the packaging were completely different than what they were on the actual toy. Like, he had like more whiter skin tone, where his skin tone on the actual figure was either appeared orange to some people or tan to others. And it's definitely noticeable when you look at the vintage art compared to the released figure. You can see how it's like an orange skin tone, and people have been debating for years whether or not Man-E-Faces is actually naked right there and that's his skin, or if he's wearing an orange bodysuit with the armor over his bodysuit. That's debatable. I mean, if you want, you can leave me a comment under this post if it's uploaded when it's uploaded on YouTube and Facebook. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know. Interact with this shit. Help me finger the algorithm for a bit. But let me know what you think. But like I said, Man-E-Faces has a mini comics version of Man-E-Faces based on his color scheme in the mini comics compared to the vintage cross-sale art. So, that character has like exclusive artwork on the back of it, which is like a modern homage to the vintage mini comics cover. And normally you would expect and it comes in a collector's box. Normally I believe it comes in a collector's box. I could be wrong, but I believe normally these figures are what they sell on Mattel Creations. This time around, it's an Amazon pre-order. So if I have anybody in the background that wants to assist me try to find one of these mini comic Man-E-Faces, feel free to hit me up. Because I've been looking around Amazon and checking around and shit. Hopefully I'm successful with it. But yeah, there's going to be a second version of Man-E-Faces coming out. And he's going to have slightly different faces than this figure. Because the thing with Man-E-Faces is, when it comes to Man-E-Face figures over the years, you had the vintage 80s back in the day Man-E-Faces, right? Then when it came to the 2000X Cartoon Network Toonami Mike Young Masters of the Universe series, and everybody had that 2000X character anime redesign, you know what I mean? Where everybody got their updated modern look, and they all looked fucking great. I mean, there was nothing wrong with 2000X, but they made Man-E-Faces, and he got a figure. And he also got a variant in that line because when it carried on to like the second season of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, they introduced the Snake Men. So there was like, there's variants of the different characters and whatnot. So Man-E-Faces also got a variant. But basically, Man-E-Faces, you know, he looks super awesome in that 2000X figure. You know, his, everything was like right on par to what he looked like back in the day, even though it was like a more modern version of it. I never got that Man-E-Faces 2000X figures. Honestly, I did not buy that line for one reason. It was impossible to buy any character that was not He-Man or Skeletor. I feel the 2000X line failed because they had too many He-Man and Skeletor variants. Not enough of the core characters available in stores, and then you're either finding like Jungle He-Man, Wolf He-Man, Snake He-Man, you know what I mean? It was just fucking crap, you know? Good luck finding Teela, good luck finding Man-E-Faces, good luck finding Man-at-Arms, good luck finding Stratos, good luck finding Mech-a-Neck. It's not gonna fucking happen. It sucked. But as far as the cartoon goes, fucking awesome. But yeah, Man-E-Faces was in the 2000X line, and then when they made Masters of the Universe Classics, Man-E-Faces got his Masters of the Universe Classics figure, which people can say what they want. Classics was its own thing that ran from 2008 to 2018. MattyCollector.com. It was online only, subscription based, you know what I mean? And a lot of people feel that MattyCollector.com, Masters of the Universe Classics, everything with the way that was ran, inspired everything about Mattel Creations and having crowd funds and whatnot. So, you know what I mean? You gotta crawl before you could run. They were crawling back in 2008 and knocked out every fucking Masters of the Universe figure in the Classics line. So with everything being fucking hot right now in 40th anniversary, and the fact that the Masterverse line started with the Masters of the Universe Revelations figures for Netflix, you know, basically a lot of people, including myself, feel Masterverse is just a retail version of Classics because Mattel didn't believe that Masters of the Universe would sell at retail because 2000X bombed. And here we are fucking 20 years later, and not only is Masters of the Universe selling, but they pretty much have Classics at retail, only now it's fucking Masterverse. So Man-E-Faces has his Masterverse figure, which they put under the New Eternia branding. Now the Classics Masterverse figure has, you know, Man-E-Faces, but the way they did it is, it was similar action feature, but it was slightly different, and he had like face plates. You know what I mean? He had like face plates, which were like little thumbnails that like popped into place on the drum, and you were able to, or they had like little pegs they were able to pop into place. I didn't collect Classics, but I know that the way this play feature is going to work with this Man-E-Faces figure. He's got additional faces that this figure does not have. And real quick, go into this Man-E-Faces figure. If you spin it around on the drum, you know, he's got his man, he's got the robot, he's got the monster. But the back in the day figure, you know, he was always looking forward. The cool thing about the Origins version is that the neck actually turns, so he could actually turn the whole head around and whatnot. So that was never possible before. So he can look to the left, he can look to the right. You know, he's got more playability than the original figure did. And real quick, while I'm on it, he's got this fucking green blaster. But there was also a version of Man-E-Faces back in the day that didn't just come with the green blaster, but he also came with additional weapons in the maroon shade. And that was known as Man-E-Weapons, even though that's what his pet name was called by the collector community, knowing the difference between regular Man-E-Faces and Man-E-Weapons, because Man-E-Weapons came with the maroon weapons and the regular only came with the orange gun, which made it possible for like Wondar to be faked back in the 80s, Wonder Bread He-Man, because they were able to take that sword and whatnot and the fucking axe and shit and fucking give it to Wonder Bread He-Man and whatnot, along with the black Zodak armor and shit. But yeah, go on the Patreon if you want to hear more about that. I got the Wondar episode. But yeah, the Classics line version of Man-E-Faces had additional faces and based on concept art. And they also had some filmation faces. So like he came with like a Skeletor skull for the Man-E-Faces face. I believe he had an Orko face, and he also had a He-Man Prince Adam face. But this Man-E-Faces, now he comes with 3 additional faces, and he comes in and they come in like a little suitcase. And this suitcase is going to clip on his back and for storage. And the 3 other faces that this Man-E-Faces comes with is, it looks like he comes with the filmation version of his human face, his Manny persona, because I mean they call him Manny. And then he has, now he's got another face that once I get this open, you're gonna be able to see it more. But it looks like it's a blue skin tone, rocking a mustache, and I'm wondering if that in fact is supposed to be Keldor, or if it's just supposed to be a blue skinned man, or if it's, you know what I mean, or just a generic act, you know what I mean, character that he's playing. But ever since I saw this concept, you know, the packaging for this Masterverse Man-E-Faces, you know, I always assumed, because you could see it on the side art too of the packaging, you can see the blue face. You know, it's kind of like, he kind of looks a little bit like Clark Gable fucked Jafar, you know what I mean? And he's got the blue face with the mustache, which to me, I'm saying it's Keldor. It's Skeletor before he was Skeletor, and he has the skull face plate, which is not yellow like Skeletor. It's a regular, you know, white skull, white gray skull. So, you know, it's not specific who the skull face is supposed to be, even though it's easy to assume that the blue face with the mustache is supposed to be Keldor. I don't know. You can let me know what you think below. But the back of the package says, Man-E-Faces, human, robot, monster. When Castle Grayskull shattered New Eternia, the mind of an adventurer shattered with it. Now known as Man-E-Faces, his curse forces him into the faces of many beings, from human to monster to robot, each with its own memory and agenda. Little does he know the combined memories of his Man-E-Faces are the map for restoring Eternia to glory. So, I will say that Man-E-Faces, since this is Man-E-Faces New Eternia Man-E-Faces, this is an original take on a classic beloved character. So everything about this version of Man-E-Faces is completely new to the world of Masters of the Universe. And if you're in for like today's comic book reader, anime watcher, whether you're, and even like movie watcher, if you're watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the DC Entertainment Universe, we've all been hearing so much about alternate realities, timelines, you know what I mean? And basically what I'm getting at is the whole thing with Masterverse is Masterverse represents the multiverse of Masters of the Universe. You have Masters of the Universe, the 80s toy line, you got the Filmation cartoon, you got the 87 movie, you got 1990 Space He-Man, you have 2000 and X, you know what I mean? And so there's different versions of Masters of the Universe, and with the Dark Horse New Eternia comic book, well actually it's the Dark Horse Masterverse comics, you know, they put out 4 issues, and one of the issues focuses on a universe where He-Man, Ram-Man, Stratos, and Man-E-Faces are like basically dickheads. You know, they instead of being all responsible, heroic, like you would expect the Masters of the Universe, these guys are a group of assholes like Guardians of the Galaxy. You know what I mean? They're all about treasure hunting and whatnot and making a name for themselves, and they don't really give a shit about responsibilities or whatnot. Somebody's in danger. How much are you paying for a reward? Because, you know, we were planning on going to the beach today. You guys are dicks. I'm about to get killed. How's that my problem? You know what I mean? That's basically how this universe's version of Man-E-Faces acted in the comic book. And, which, by the way, is totally worth the read. I'm not going to, like, spoil the whole thing. So go to your local comic shop and grab the 4 issues of Dark Horse Comics, Masterverse Comics. But, yeah, so, like it says, you know, the combined memories of his Man-E-Faces are the map for restoring Eternia to glory. So, and honestly, I you know, there's so many different, there's so many things to explore, because they've only put out 4 issues of the comic book that, like, they haven't even fully explored everything that's going on in this universe and these worlds. So we only got like 1 issue so far to basically introduce this version of Man-E-Faces. So who the hell knows what's going to come out with future issues, because right now only 4 issues have come out. That's being called Volume 1 of Masterverse Comics. Apparently there's a trade paperback that's coming out in the fall. So who knows what's going on with the future, if there's going to be a Volume 2. But I'd really like to see him further explore this whole concept with New Eternia and everything that's going on with, like, this new version of Man-E-Faces. Alright, let's see here. Probably be best to flip them over and cut the little plastic snips off. So I'm officially shipping out a pile of loot that is going to give me a whole bunch of shit that I'm telling you right now is going to be on deck for September. Something I could say to look forward to for the month of September is, let's see here, we got Point Dread in the Talon Fighter, classic Masters of the Universe vintage vehicle that finally came out in the Origins line. We got Skeletor and Screech. When it comes to the WWE Elite figures, we got SummerSlam 2004 Randy Orton. Got SummerSlam 2005 Shawn Michaels. Both of those figures, by the way, come with Build-A-Figure parts for Dominic Mysterio. I'm not trying to build Dominic Mysterio, but I'm trying to build his body so I can make like a mini version of whatever I want. You know what I mean? Like I could put an extra Hulk Hogan head on it and call it Little Hulkster. Or I could take an extra Rock head and call it fucking Young Rock. You know what I mean? Or Little Dewey. And speaking of Young Rock and Little Dewey, I'm getting a WWE Elite People's Champion The Rock, who's wearing his $5,000 shirt and his sunglasses, but he doesn't come with the Attitude Era belt, even though it says on the back of the figure that it's the corporate champion version of The Rock. But let's see here. What else do I got? Skeletor and Screech, Point Dread and the Talon Fighter. Those three WWE figures. Oh yeah, Snakeface and Slamurai finally arrived. So I'm going to be looking forward to those. So once Slamurai arrives, I'm going to be able to do a Ninjor episode now that I can talk about Slamurai and Ninjor. But yeah, and also too, something else I decided to start collecting in the past week. I wasn't really looking for anything last week while I was shopping. I actually took my daughter Natalia to Target because she needed a couple of shirts. And she's like, hey Dad, can we go on a toy hunt? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm just going to give you a heads up. I don't plan on buying anything today because I got some pre-orders that are going to hit. Like Snakeface and Slamurai. So I can't really be buying anything at Target. But while we were looking around in the toy aisle, I saw something that was new, very much affordable, and I really couldn't say no or pass up on it. But I decided to jump on the new Playmates Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem figures for the new movie coming out. They're the core turtles and the core figures are like, depending on where you live, they're either $10 or $11. And I wound up grabbing Michelangelo and Donatello. And special shout out to my Patreon subscriber, Jack Sullivan. I told, because Jack collects Ninja Turtles. I told Jack about it. And I threw it out to Jack that, hey man, if you're able to grab me Leonardo and Raph, I could totally grab you for him. So Jack did me a solid. Jack wound up grabbing Raphael and Leonardo for me. So I officially have all 4 core turtles when it comes to the Mutant Mayhem figures. Now, there's other figures in that line. Basically, there's Splinter and there's 4 villains from that movie. And it was brought to my attention by another Patreon subscriber, Jim, that he saw the Turtle Van for this Mutant Mayhem movie. So, after talking to Jim, I might be trading Jim one of my extra $1 for that Turtle Van. So, we'll see what happens in the next week or two. But I'll tell you right now, that mission will be considered successful if I crack that Turtle Van open up on the show. But yeah, if you're looking for an interesting Ninja Turtle line to collect, you may want to check out the Mutant Mayhem figures. They actually look really fucking cool, and I'm gonna be opening them up soon at some point, probably for Facebook Reels, because I'm starting to go through what I got, and I'm like trying to feel like, what do I want to do for an Ian versus Daddybones episode? What do I want to do for a Patreon exclusive video? And what do I want to just crack open for like Facebook Reels and shit? So I think the Mutant Mayhem figures may be down for the Facebook Reels, just because I kind of like, I've been opening like Bluey shit for my daughter Sadie. So yeah, I'm probably going to be opening the Bluey shit on Facebook Reels as well. But now that I got this Man-E-Faces open and out, let me check out his different joints. Alright, his knees bend. Let's see, check this torso action out. Get his fucking arms, he looks fucking dope. Make sure his elbows bend. Because the worst thing about grabbing figures like these, and it's not just Masters of the Universe, you know what I mean? You could be buying the, G.I. Joe figures that are this size. You could be buying fucking Marvel Legends, you know what I mean? You could be collecting the DC figures and shit that I've been seeing in the stores, because I know a lot of people have been looking for that, the Flash figures of like Michael Keaton's Batman. And now, one thing I'm going to say and point out that I'm noticing from this Man-E-Faces is his legs are kind of wobbly, and it's very weird being able to move his legs around like that. And the reason for that is he is the only, actually no he's not, but he is the second figure that I have in this toy line that is able to move his legs like that and who also has the same waist piece as that. Because Man-E-Faces and Roboto have the same crotch plastic. They're not wearing the furry pants that every other character in this fucking line is wearing. You know what I mean? He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Fisto, Stratos, Stinkor, you know what I mean? Trapjaw. They're all wearing the fucking, well, maybe not Trapjaw. I gotta double check that. But they're all wearing the same furry pants, and because of that, because of the way the plastic is, their legs are only so movable. You know what I mean? When I'm trying to get He-Man and Fisto to stand on a shelf, you could only move their legs so much. You know, you could only spread their legs so far to get him to stand, and I just feel like, holy crap, his legs are going all over the place, that it actually feels kind of wonky trying to pose him. Now, I've seen in some other videos and even people in Facebook groups who haven't really been complaining, but, well, I guess it really I guess I didn't really have a problem with it. But some people were saying that Man-E-Faces, his gun was hard to put in his hand. I didn't have a problem with it just now. As you saw, it easily went right in. But another thing about his gun that I want to point out that I found out on a Facebook group is you could actually flip his gun over and use this flat piece of plastic that's sticking out, that, you know, where his, I guess you would say the scope would be on this laser pistol, but you could actually flip it over and kind of use it like a spatula to pop out these little mask plates. And real quick, I just want to see exactly how this works, because he does have the action gimmick where his face spins, but I'm trying to think. Okay, there it goes. Okay, holy shit. So yeah, his dome piece pops right off, and as you can see, Man-E-Faces, he has his head. But the way it works is, okay, they don't slide on like little thumbnails. I mean, even though they kind of are like thumbnails, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, honestly, that is like the size of my thumbnail. So I bet if you know what I mean? I bet if I took a picture of that and did hashtag OMG Bish and put it on Snapchat, it'd get like so many hits. But no, they're like little thumbnails with two little pegs in the back that pop into these holes on place. Yeah, these holes right on it, so it just snaps right in, and then you could slide the dome mechanism right over his head, and it pops right down, and yeah, he's got Man-E-Faces with his different expressions, so he looks pretty fucking fresh. I'm actually gonna have the monster face visible on that, but yeah, the backpack. Now this, I'm gonna make it clear, I'm closing this. And I'm not opening this again. I'm not opening this again for one reason. As soon as you close it and it pops, that plastic right there just turned fucking white. Which means that thing's only going to open and shut so many times before it completely snaps on that one side like toys do. But yeah, I'm not going to fuck with that or the other face plates. He's just gonna stay the way he is, and he's gonna go on his shelf, and he's just gonna fucking chill there, and yeah, look fucking dope as shit. But yeah, there it is. Masters of the Universe, Man-E-Faces. I'm trying to get him to stand right, and that looks so fucking awkward. Eh. There he goes. There you go. It's like me and Buddy Misters. Take your son to work day. Only I'm the little one because Buddy Misters is taller than me now. It's kind of fucking weird when Owen gets mouthy and shit. I gotta look up at him like fucking Hulk Hogan cutting a promo on Andre the Giant. Like, look, brother, you're gonna go out there and mow the fucking lawn, dude. You know. But half the time, he just smiles at me. He just folds his arms and like, puny dad. But it is what it is. But no, Man-E-Faces, absolutely fucking sick. I'm super impressed with this figure. You know what I mean? He's gonna look sick on my shelf, and I'm not sure if I may get a stand just so I don't have to worry about him falling down, falling over. But he looks super sick nonetheless. But I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and get the hell out of here. Outbreak Monkey, thank you very much for suggesting this episode. And if you're a Patreon subscriber, especially if you subscribe to the Original Geeks podcast, get at me on Facebook Messenger. Drop me a line on the Patreon. Let me know something you would like me to talk about, or things you would consider that I would enjoy talking about on the show. You know what I mean? Give me suggestions and shit. Interact with the show. Leave me a comment, and I will do my best to take it under advisement and see what happens with future episodes of the show. I'm going to be flipping through a 1997 issue of WCW magazine for the next episode of the Original Geeks podcast. So if you're leveled up for the $5 tier, that's coming soon. If you're already leveled up for $1, hey man, level up to the second tier and you get access to the Original Geeks podcast. But until next time, cheers, Pete!
Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go. Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go back.
You can't hide and you can't pretend, cause I'll punch you out like Wendy England. Some things you learn in the school you attend, but the things that I say you can't comprehend.
I ain't no hippie and I ain't no punk. I don't smoke crack and I don't do junk. I'll just sit down and smoke a fat bong, pull out my guitar and sing a fast song. There's your motherfucking American Idol, putting $2 a gallon down the gas hole. 10 million votes for the next asshole. I'll just put on my engineer's hat, sit back and relax while we speed down the tracks. I'll read the book just to spit out the facts.
Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go back. Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go back.
Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, get stuck cause you never go. Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go
I'll
back.
sneak up your driveway all calm and collective, tripping balls like an underground detective. Need some new shit, but my funds are running low. I spend it on weed, shrooms, beer, and blow. Living life like a cartoon, just flipping the page as I'm staring down the barrel of a 12 gauge. Shotty to the body and it's got me open, shaking so bad, think my legs are broken. I'm choking on the smoke and coughing up the shot, waking up from a dream. These drugs are high. Chasing strychnine with kind and beer with whiskey. Sing a lullaby and I'm sorry you missed me.
You can't hide and you can't pretend, cause I'll punch you out like Wendy England. Some things you learn in the school you attend, but the things that